Let me ask you, have you ever asked yourself what happened to DoorDash? One day you're working the app and making money, and then the next, struggle is real. Or this happens a lot. You get used to the way the app works, and then DoorDash just go ahead and changes something in the app, and you're like, what the heck? Because it just made things harder, not easier. The answer? DoorDash is changing, and this is why. We talk a lot as DoorDash drivers strategies to make more money or how to navigate the app if it updates. But you can't have a strategy or make more money unless you start from the beginning and understand what is truly happening on the DoorDash app. And to me, it's simple. It's always changing. Which, if you don't change with it, that's where you lose in the DoorDash game. Today, we are going to dive into the 3 ways the DoorDash app is changing, how it affects you as a Dasher, and towards the end, it's the biggest change, in my opinion, that affects every single driver. First change DoorDash has been doing, in my opinion, they are shifting to a shopping app more than food delivery. I feel like with DoorDash, food delivery is a thing of the past, and they have moved on to something that's going to be more profitable for them and can make them more money and become competitive with not just food delivery apps. They're literally starting to dominate even the shopping apps as well. They now have multiple ways of delivering whatever the customer is really looking for. But shopping has become such a priority lately that I don't know about you, but if you have shopping toggled on, it seems like that's the only thing you're getting. You know, when you think about the merchants just alone, they added David's bridal mattress from some of these like really ridiculous out of left field companies, but they are doing it for a reason. They're doing it to be competitive, not just with food delivery. They're doing it to be competitive and be number 1 all the way around in this gig economy. You know, they're trying to be leaders. Well, let's face it, they are the leaders in market share. Next, I think they're trying to stop full-time work. I think the app itself is designed, and I think it's always been designed, but it's even more pronounced now than it ever has. Majority of the drivers are minimal part-time drivers working 10 hours or less. It's drivers like me who are full-time that are in the minority of DoorDash drivers out there. But DoorDash, if you really think about it, is catering to and banking on drivers who work less hours. And you notice that with peak pays, because peak pays are during peak hours during the weekends. But when do most of the part-time drivers work? Nights and weekends, right? It's always been that way, but I feel like it's more now than it has been in the past. You know, when you think about order volume, it's more catered, and also $1 per hour. I see it more catered towards the person who's going to do this for an hour, maybe 2 hours, and they think it's the best app ever because in that hour, maybe 2 hours, they make $25, $30 an hour, and they're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Where you get a full-timer and you're working 8, 9, 10, 12 hours and you spread these orders out through an entire day, it doesn't quite equal that $25 to $30 per hour. You might have to work more hours in order to still make the same amount of money that you were even used to making years ago. So I think the app has really completely switched. And I think it's always been this way, but it's more pronounced now more than ever. It is all about the part-time driver. What full-time drivers anymore? Man, the DoorDash app has become so darn complicated. That is the biggest change I've seen lately. When you really think about it, God, how many app changes do we go through even in a month's period, where one day it's one way and then the next day you're like, oh my God, where did this even come from? This has just made my life even more difficult than what I'm doing now. If you think about it, the app itself has even more steps from a driver's perspective, thinking about the driver and how it affects you. You now have to do facial recognition, which is a good thing because hopefully it's preventing from some of these illegal accounts happening. But you have to do facial recognition. You have to upload your driver's license. A couple weeks ago, I had to do facial recognition in order to even do a schedule. When did scheduling become even more complicated? Talk about complicated. In order to work the DoorDash platform, now you have to have a schedule. There's no more Dash now unless you're in a fantastic area that you're always peak. And if that's the case, I am really jealous. But talking about more steps, you now have, for Hand It To Me customers, certain customers have PIN numbers, some have signature required. You have to wait for the customer. You know, when you do a leave at door, your picture is tilted, it is too dark, you have to retake it. Think about all the different steps that has made the driver's life more complicated than what it has been in the past. It used to be you turned the app on, you waited for an order, you accepted it, you declined it, you picked it up, you dropped it off, and you got your money. Now it is just an app that some of us who have been on the app long enough don't even recognize anymore. Did I miss any complicated things that have happened lately on the DoorDash app? Heck, even working with your fellow drivers become more complicated because they're not on the accounts legally. So that is the biggest thing. But if you don't adapt to the complications of DoorDash, are you really making money as a driver? No, this really could affect you. So you have to roll with the punches, the DoorDash punches, as they come in order to successfully still work a very complicated app that should be just so darn simple. So let me ask you, what changes have you noticed lately on DoorDash that is affecting the way that you work the DoorDash app? Go ahead, let me know. You know, there are different ways you can boost your earnings on DoorDash since DoorDash has been changing so much lately. You're going to want to check this video out next, and I'll see you over there.